Welcome back. Last time we saw that Fleu saves all the girls and decides to battle the wolf head-on. Will he be able to get back alive? Let's see. Shortly after the teleportation, we see Fenris mention that she will make Fleo regret staying behind, and Fleo thinks that he can't die before doing something in this world, and he checks out all the spells he has. He tries to use random spells one by one, but Fenris manages to find a way to counter all of them. Fleo then uses his gravity magic, pinning Fenris to the ground. Fleo feels that he must seize the victory as now is his chance and wonders what spell he can use. The system suggests the subjugate spell, explaining that it allows the caster to have total control of the target's thoughts and actions. Fleo doesn't want to use it because he thinks it's the same as making her his slave, and he asks the system to find another way. Meanwhile, Fenris tries to use several spells to escape the gravity magic, but the system nullifies all of her spells and still suggests that Fleo use subjugation. Fleo refuses to use that spell, no matter what, saying that he can't change his ideals just because he's in another world. Fenris then runs out of magic and she surrenders. She states that a warrior who cannot fight has no way to live, and she begs Fleo to put an end to her. Fleo mentions that he doesn't want to kill her, and he explains that he never liked fighting in the first place. He breaks his spell, and Fenris reminds him that she is a demon warrior who fights against humans. She wonders if he really wants her to live, and he explains that humans and demons are no different from him. He mentions that he just doesn't want to kill someone who has already surrendered, and Fenris explains that he is Navi, and she transforms into her human form. Fleo is embarrassed to see her naked, and he covers her body. He asks her to promise not to start any more fights with humans, and says that if she promises, he will let her go. He then remembers that he had some clothes in his bottomless bag, but before he can take them out, Fenris passes out. The system tells Fleo that she is only sleeping because her magic is exhausted, and Fleo is glad that she is out of danger. We then see Fleo checking out all the spells he has, and we see that he has set up a tent in the forest. He remembers that the people in the guild were surprised when they found out that he could use teleportation magic, and he wonders why he can use such great spells. Fenris then wakes up in the tent, and she realizes that Fleo is outside, and she can't believe that she couldn't do anything to that human even though she's resistant to magic. Until now, she thought humans were powerless, and she finds that her magic is already restored. She then comes out of the tent wearing the clothes Fleo left for her, and she thanks him for casting healing spells on her while she was sleeping. He's glad to see that she is all right, and she mentions that it would be natural for her to be killed right now. But since he spared her, she promises not to attack any humans from now on. She also acknowledges Fleo as her master and states that she will repay his debt with her life. Fleo is not interested in taking her as a slave, and Fenris mentions that he is asking him to just let her be by his side, and Fleo states that he does not need a porter or a slave. Fenris then makes a cute face to get him to accept her, but Fleo mentions that it won't work, and Fenris states that she will just have to die if he won't accept her. Fleo stops him, and he agrees to take her with him. This makes her happy, and Fleo then tells her that he is not of this world. He was summoned as a hero candidate, but he has no abilities and can't return to his original world. He was cast aside in this world, and then he shows her his true form. He explains that he changed his appearance because he is forbidden to enter any cities, and he has no idea what to do or where to go next. He mentions that following him will only make her suffer, and Fenris states that she doesn't care. She mentions that Lupins live for those they believe to be her masters, and no matter who he is, she has already pledged her life and loyalty to him. She vows to live with him and hopes that he will keep her by his side. The scene then cuts to the hero having an audience with the king, and the king asks him how he could lose the army he provided. The hero mentions that it was not his fault, and he explains that the knights were to blame. They panicked and broke ranks at the mere appearance of the magical beasts, and by the time he realized it, the army was already wiped out. He did his best to save as many people as he could, and that the king should be grateful that so many knights survived. Then he leaves, and the king asks one of the knights about the hero's performance in the battle, and the knight mentions that it was disappointing. Although he was a hero, he was at the very back of the ranks and ran away while the knights were desperately fighting. He then blamed others for his mistakes, and his behavior was unbecoming of a hero. Afterwards, we see the hero in the corridors, wondering why his stats are not increasing even though he has been training for a whole month. He thinks that his stats are good enough to deal with humans, but he can't even fight a moderately strong magical beast with those numbers. Afterwards, a servant named Suya approaches the hero, and the hero apologizes for keeping her waiting, and he explains that they should indulge themselves with the resources provided by the castle. The scene then cuts to Fenris and Fleo in the capital, and Fleo explains that they need to earn money to survive in this world. He mentions that they should go to the guild and look for a job and a place to stay, and Fenris understands. One of the street vendors then mistakes Fenris for Fleo's wife, and Fleo says that it might be a good idea to pretend to be a couple, as it will make them look less suspicious. Fenris is happy to hear this, and she mentions that she would like to be his wife. She explains that it is an honor for female lupins to have a strong husband, and she would be happy to marry someone as strong as him. Flea reminds her that they are only pretending, and Fenris mentions that she is fine with that. Then they go to the guild, and Fenris registers as an adventurer named Riss. She is given a necklace to prove her identity, and she thinks that this is a strange way to manage information. Flea shows her that he has one too, and Fenris blushes when he hears this. She mentions that her tribe has a marriage rite in which a couple swallows a piece of bone from the prey they hunted together, and this matching pendant reminds her of that custom. Afterwards, the two try to look for a quest, but the receptionist announces an urgent quest. She explains that a large horde of psycho bears has been spotted in the north, and they are on their way to the city. The adventurers think that this must be it, but the receptionist mentions that there is no rank limit for this quest, and for this time only, the bounty for a psycho bear is 10 times the usual amount. Flea says that the money is good, but they should pass, and Fenris tells him that psycho bears are no match for his power. Flea states that he cannot defeat enemies that even the hero cannot handle, and Fenris mentions that in this case she will go hunting herself, and if she wins, it will be proof of his true ability, since he did defeat them. The scene then cuts to the two of them around the forest where the psycho bears appeared, and they notice an empty house there, and Fenris mentions that the guild told them they could use this house. Flea explains that they can use it as a base to look for the psycho bears, and Fenris mentions that she alone will be enough to handle those monsters. Flea explains that he can't let them fight alone, and that he needs to try some of his spells as well. The two then hear a scream, and after following it, they notice that the knights from earlier are surrounded by a herd of psycho bears. We see that one of them is injured, and Fenris mentions that they should leave them alone, but Flea saves them with his thunder spell. He defeats all but one, and Fenris takes care of him. The knights then realize that they were saved by Flea and a girl, and they thank them. They are glad that he survived against that monster, and they wonder who the girl is. Flea introduces her as Ray's traveling companion, and Fenris is disappointed that he didn't introduce her as his wife. A psycho bear then tries to attack Fenris from behind, but the look on her face frightens it and it surrenders. Flea thinks that it must have realized that it had no chance against them, and he wonders what they should do with this guy. Fenris mentions that they should make him their subordinate, and the knights are surprised to hear this. Fenris explains that it will be a testament to Flea's strength to have this psycho bear follow them around, since not even the hero could defeat one. Flea thinks that this would at least stop it from attacking people, and he uses his action control spell to make the monster his pet. He doesn't think he can bring it into town like this, so he uses his shape-shifting spell to turn the bear into a cute furry animal. Fenris thinks the animal is cute, and they name him Saib. The knights can't believe that the two of them managed to wipe out an entire herd of psycho bears, and he even took one of them as a pet. They wonder who they are, and Ballyrosa explains that she has a favored ask of Flea. They then return to the house near the forest, and the knights thank them again for saving them. They introduce themselves as Bolano, Balluri, Blossom, and Ballyrosa. Ballyrosa then asks Flea if he could teach them how to fight, and she mentions that he should already know that the hero's army was wiped out by a herd of psycho bears a few days ago. Because of this, the hero is upset and refuses to leave the castle, saying that he won't fight the Dark One until he has someone worthy to be his right hand. When the king hears this, he orders the knights to become strong enough to defeat psycho bears, and since the four of them are new to the knights, they can't even hunt a single psycho bear. She asks Flea to help them, and Flea thinks that he himself has no idea how magic spells work, so there is no way he can teach them. Fenris also likes the idea, and Flea tells the knights that he introduced Reese as his companion earlier, but she's actually his wife, and he would like to live a quiet life with her. The knights think it would be rude of them to disturb him in this case, but Fenris is happy that Flea called her his wife, and she mentions that it's okay for him to teach them. She says that, as his wife, she knows that Flea would not abandon people in need, and Flea then tells the knights that he may not be able to teach them properly, but he will do his best if that is okay with them. The knights are pleased to hear this, and mention that they have another request. They wonder if they can sleep in this house since it's not safe for them to sleep outside, and Fenris says it's fine since they have plenty of rooms here, and she can just share a room with her husband, which makes Flea blush. The scene then cuts to the Dark One's castle, and a demon named Euliminus tells him that the forces of Fengril stationed near Delavisa Forest have been destroyed, and the cleansing spell responsible was not cast by the mages of Clyrode. It was the work of a single individual, and the Dark One is surprised that a single person was able to cast the ultimate spell that destroys demons, and he asks Euliminus to capture this person and bring him here, no matter what.